Hello fellow Clashers, welcome to another episode of Exploring the Meta with KairosTime. Today I'm going to be doing my Exploring the Meta episode a little bit differently than I have in the past. In the past what I've done is I've selected one deck and talked about that deck alone, and usually it would include a guide on that deck and talk about how to use it. We're going to be shifting gears a little bit with this series because of my new series, Challenge Winning Decks, where I will be posting guides on how to use decks that have been proven to win the 12th round of a challenge. Because of that, this series is going to be more about exploring the meta and how things are changing as cards get strengthened, as they get nerfed, or even as the meta changes and people adapt to it. Because there's a different meta at the different trophy ranges, we're going to be focusing mostly on tournaments and on challenges, because as long as you're at the tournament standard, that's going to be the same basically wherever you are at. I'm not going to completely ignore the ladder, but you'll definitely see less content on there since it is different for everybody. Now here you're going to be seeing an interesting deck right here that I created. I've been seeing a lot of people use the Miner and the Goblin Barrel and even in the Mirror a little bit differently recently. I've seen a lot of Miner Furnace decks, I've seen some Miner Poison decks, and I've seen some Goblin Barrel decks used even with the Mirror, which is pretty strong, especially if you're playing in the tournament and you do have a level 4 Mirror. And the reason why that is so strong is because those mirrored goblins will come out at level 10, which cannot be zappable at the tournament standard. Now this deck is interesting because I took a lot of those different mechanics and created this sort of a tempo burn Miner Goblin Barrel mirror deck that is very difficult to stop. You'll see right there I've mirrored my Goblin Barrel, and you can't stop it because my opponent is unlikely to have two spells that are very good at clearing it. Now, if your opponent does have two spells, then you are somewhat at a loss, but most likely you'll be able to cycle back to the Goblin Barrel mirror combo and be able to use it. Now I will use the mirror on other cards like the regular stabby goblins. They're great with the mirror because of the same reason, and the fact that they cannot be zapped. Now I'm facing right here an opponent that is using the Hog Rider Giant combo, which is an interesting one. I've been seeing some more Hog Riders, I've been seeing some more, of course a lot of Giants. Here we got a Giant Poison deck with the Hog Rider, which is an interesting combination, but we're seeing a lot of Giant Poison still, so I couldn't ignore the fact that that is definitely in here. Now we're switching to an interesting deck that I actually found on Reddit of somebody that had similar leveled cards to what I have and climbed clear up to just under 3,900 trophies. Because I am always playing around with new decks, my trophies are frequently fluctuating up and down, and so that caught my attention because I was currently at 3,100 trophies, which was a lot lower than what I'm used to, but like I said, since starting this channel, I've been going up and down a lot, and that's as expected. Now, since I've been playing this deck, I've actually climbed clear up to 3,400 trophies with only 3 or 4 losses. It's a really strong deck in the ladder, and you might be thinking, well, Kairos, that has an extremely high average elixir cost. With both the Pekka and the 3 Musketeers, we have 2 of the most expensive cards in this deck. But let me tell you, if you play your cards right, this deck is so strong. With the current poison meta that we've been seeing, and with Giants as well, I've been starting to see a lot of 3 Musketeer decks. People have started getting really good at splitting their 3 Musketeers, and that is a strong thing to do because it is so hard to counter 2 Musketeers coming down one lane and a single Musketeer coming down the other lane paired up with another supporting troop like something like the Mega Minion or a Knight or even the Miner. It's a very difficult combo to stop, and here you'll be seeing how this deck actually has 2 win conditions. One is the Pekka, one is the 3 Musketeers, and if you can get a Pekka 3 Musketeer combo on the map, your opponent is almost guaranteed to lose a tower. That is such a difficult push to stop. Now, my primary my goal when I'm playing this deck is not to make that combo happen, but every now and then I do have enough elixir built up to make it work out. But even then, with just the Pekka or the 3 Musketeers supported, then you can make this deck definitely work out. It's a ton of fun in the ladder, and I wanted to include this replay because it's interesting. We are still seeing the Royal Giant in the arena. I thought that we might start seeing a little bit less, but they've been in the ladder. They've been doing strong. Here you even see a level 10 Royal Giant that's doing pretty well for around where its trophy count is. Now, one thing I did want to mention here is that we're seeing a lot more of the log in the arena, which is really cool. I love the log. It's a great card that has an interesting mechanic, and now that it pushes back even the largest of trophies, it's a very strong legendary card. It's worthy of the title Legendary. I've been messing around with it quite a bit, actually, to try and get used to it. I've recently got it for my first log, and so I've been messing around with that, and it's been a lot of fun. Now, one thing that I did want to mention is that the lumberjack, I haven't been seeing the lumberjack as much since he has been nerfed, which I was pretty surprised of. The lumberjack was a very overpowered card, in my opinion, before it got nerfed, and now that it's gotten nerfed, I still see it every now and then, but people just haven't been using it as much, probably because they prefer the mini Pekka in most situations. Okay, now you're looking at this, and you're looking at my deck, and you're like, what in the world is this deck? The Expo is a card that has not been popular for months. I remember the siege, epidemic of the Expos and the mortars that we had a long time ago, and it was really annoying for a lot of players. A lot of people were unhappy about it, and so both the mortar and the Expo got significant nerfs. Now, I wanted to show this deck because I've actually been having a lot of fun with it in the tournament, in tournaments and challenges. People are not used to playing against Expo decks. They don't know how to do it. In fact, when my clanmate showed me this deck, I was playing against him, and he placed down the Expo, and I was shocked. I was stunned. For 2 seconds, I was just sitting there trying to figure out what to do because it's been so long since I played against it. Now, because of that, using this type of a deck might give you somewhat of an advantage, but you have to learn how to use it. I wanted to post this replay because I'm playing against somebody that has a deck that is pretty good at countering this type of a deck, and that is the Lava Hound. And Lava Hounds are interesting because they've gained even more popularity now that the Mega Minion is out. Mega Minion is such a strong combination with the Lava Hound because it's not easy to get rid of like the regular minions using even Zap and an Ice Spirit or even just the arrows. In this deck, I have to use my Rocket so many times against the Lava Hound just so I can get rid of a good chunk of its health along with a supporting Mega Minion. Now, one thing that's interesting about this deck is that it has 2 cards, or even 3 cards if you include the Rocket, that people are not used to countering in the current meta. Any good deck builder will tell you that one of the best things that you can do when including a deck or making a deck is to include a card that people aren't very good at countering, either because it's not very used or because of how unique it is. This deck uses the Expo and the Giant Skeleton and also the Rocket, although the Rocket's gaining some popularity from what I've noticed as well. But one thing that I've noticed is that the Giant Skeleton is slowly gaining a little bit of popularity. The Giant Skeleton's kind of an underrated card. A lot of people don't know how to handle it, and you'll see right here, the reason why I win this match is because he drops that bomb right next to the tower, and it does so much damage to a tower and also to supporting troops, making it one of the perfect cards to include in a deck like this, or even in Goblin Barrel decks. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you have any other suggestions for exploring the meta and different deck types to talk about, I would love to hear it in the comments below. Thank you so much. This is KairosTime ticking by, and we'll see you in the arena.